Ah, I'm so happy we got through discussing Sonic 06. Now for our next topic. Ow! What? Ah! Okay.
Chapter 15. Well, frickin' duh!
Okay, so by many people's requests, back to Sonic 06. Since we mostly talked around the game and didn't discuss the story in depth.
Oh, not Sonic 06 again. I'm done with it.
Sorry pal. So, why didn't we talk about the story last time? Several reasons, mostly because the main story is already overanalyzed and torn apart by others. Another reason is that, usually when we discuss the story in the games, we look at the pacing, the function, how it flows, how it works. The biggest thing about Sonic 06 are the plot holes. While every Sonic game has a couple of them, none of the games are so riddled with them that it becomes Sonic 06 story's main focus point when it comes to analyzing it.
It's kind of hard to discuss 06's plot holes, because the whole story is vague. The Chaos Emeralds suddenly have powers of time travel and giving power to your thoughts or something. Eggman can apparently make a time machine. We're never clearly told any of the rules. The whole story is built on top of quicksand, since most plot holes involve things that happen off-screen, like Elise not crying, or involve magical artifacts with no clear rules. Like the Chaos Emeralds, they're not really plot holes. We're lacking solid data.
Yeah, actual plot holes are about contradictions. Solid motivations or properties or characters behaving plain wrong. I never consider things that happen off screen to be outright plot holes. I mean, I perfectly understand people who are irritated by how Sonic could be arrested by G.U.N. in Sonic Adventure 2, or why Elise never cries and such, but technically they don't contradict any facts. It's just something very unlikely happening, but we aren't there to see it. It's more this weird storytelling trope where you assume nothing unusual can happen off screen, no matter what kind of crazy adventures constantly happen while we watch them. And then the Chaos Emeralds, time travel. Time travel is a black hole in storytelling. As soon as you give the hero or villain the option to casually travel back in time, then every significant thing that happens can be reversed by them just hopping back. Oh no, will the hero get the girl, win the fight? Well, if he doesn't, whatever. Just try again, and again. It's easier than a video game, since they can create their own checkpoints. And that's even before you open the floodgates with a if you go to the hero's birth you can kill him without him stopping you thing that would reduce your entire carefully planned story structure to nothing but a mad race of characters trying to screw up the timeline before the other does. So, unless you specifically want a story about constant time manipulation, like Back to the Future 2 or the Butterfly Effect, limit the time travel. Make every hop they make a significant and hard to pull off event, you know? Just time travel causes so many options, so many branching paths, so many consequences, it's impossible to keep track of everything, and ugh. So yeah, that's why I hate time travel stories. You really have to carefully plot them out. This is why I won't discuss any time paradoxes in 06. Yes, it's a mess, and you have every right to hate the story for it, but I won't discuss it here. My brain has this automatic defense mechanism. With flimsy plot elements like that, I instantly turn my brain off and just go with it to prevent myself from going crazy trying to understand all of it. Besides that, I feel increasingly more uncomfortable talking about plot holes. To me, plot holes are amusing. To me, they're the toy in the cereal box, the bonus level in your favorite game, the money you find on the ground while already in the theme park. I watch a movie, play a game, and there's all these little things that are off or wrong, and I start thinking about them, and they grow and get a life on their own, which I then turn into a parody animation. They are usually not to berate the source material, not because I'm angry. It's joy. I love plot holes. I love reading articles on corrects when they explore little things in movies and uncover why it makes no sense and how the movie would have played out. I like internet reviews pointing out details and such, but more and more people I notice get offended who take plot holes as a reason to hate something. What used to be little quirks, little amusing things to think about suddenly became huge rants. People dismissing all the sets and music and emotion and rhythm and acting and enjoyment out of a movie and completely trash it because there's one character making a dumb decision here and there. To be honest, it terrifies me a little. Now, we do touch upon plot holes in Sonic Dissected, but never in its pure form. I always have a secondary goal. I talked about the inconsistency of Knuckles' character, but it's not about plot holes, it's about Knuckles losing his identity. So despite talking for hours about Sonic Colors, I don't think I ever went into plot holes there, because what's the point? There's a detachment to everything. Everything is just silly and wacky and doing whatever because it's funny, or supposed to be funny. Asking questions about motivations and minor plot holes is irrelevant. Everything is an excuse to tell jokes, which is why I do talk for hours whether the jokes are properly set up, but I have no interest in the story itself. The only Sonic game I went into detail for plot holes was Sonic Unleashed. Why? Well, let's say a story is like a magic trick. We have two kinds of magicians, one that does magic tricks, and one that has an entire show around it. Now the naked magician, who just stands there performing a trick, everyone in the audience stares at him. We carefully observe everything he does, so he better have some really good magic trick, because If we, the audience, see the mechanics of how he makes a rabbit disappear, everything falls apart. Now the other magician had music and dancers and clowns and fireworks and all kinds of smoke and mirrors happening, distracting the audience. So it's easier for him to hide the trickery. Most audience members are distracted. The magic itself is less impressive, but most people won't notice. And it's the same thing with storytelling. Sonic Colors has jokes. Sonic Adventure 2 feels like a mystery story, but it doesn't really invite you to think about it. The exposition is often done in quick bursts. Who are search thing? Get my Gale's Emeralds! Here's a cannon to threaten people with constant surprises and twists and confrontations, immediately pushing the story further. It's more about the rhythm, the constant twists, than a genuine mystery the audience is challenged with. Therefore, only the most critical of us will look for plot holes, while most of us are just swept with the rhythm. Sonic Unleashed is one of those Sonic games that has almost no smoke or mirrors going on. Outside of the intro, finale, and one brief confrontation with Eggman in Africa, there's little adventure going on. It's mostly people talking about the mystery and explaining things. Now I am invited to participate in the mystery. Why is Sonic a werehog? What is the ship's past? The magician has no show to distract me, so my attention is focused entirely on his trick. It's all about priority, function. What does the story do? In something like Star Trek, the old series, it's about the story, about creating a real world and real situations to deal with, so plot holes are disastrous. In action movie or comedy, the story's just there to give context, weight to the jokes in action. As long as the plot holes aren't so big that the jokes are set up to the action suffers from it, it shouldn't cause any damage on your enjoyment of the movie. Well, unless...
So, Sonic 06.
Oh, you're right, we were talking about 06, yeah. As we said last time, Sonic 06 is an unholy mess between Adventure 1 and 2. This includes the focus of the story. Sonic Adventure 2 has this desire to be constantly throwing new plot twists and revelations, dangerousness and rapid speed. Sonic Adventure 1 is the exact opposite. Outside of Sonic Colors, it's the most laid back of any cutscene-filled Sonic game. If I had to sum it up in one phrase, I'd call it daily life, kinda. Sonic and Tails are mostly just on another Gale's Emerald hunt, like they are in all the games. Amy's gone shopping and helps out the little bird. We get to see robots created in Eggman's base and see what life is like in Robotnik's base. Outside of the big climax, there's barely any hurry or instant threat. Everyone is just kinda walking around looking for stuff, going home, talking. It's really laid back. Even the main threat is just a joke at the beginning. Sonic just kicks his ass in the opening, and the game never really expects us to take Gale's all that serious until the second half of the game. So Sonic 06 combines that with Sonic Adventure 2, and that just doesn't work. Like the scene where Sonic and friends are trapped and Eggman babbles on about his plan. Exactly what I mean with Lone Magician. There's nothing of interest going on besides Eggman explaining the plot. All our focus goes to his story, we're bored, and therefore we're picking out all the problems. It's done so casual. Like Sonic Adventure, but that game served as an introduction to the world and didn't have a complex plot. It just established his character. Make it shorter, more energetic. Sonic and friends are desperately trying to find a way out. Eggman is enjoying their futile attempts and enjoys the sight. Elise is cheering them on. To drag the moment out, Eggman briefly tells them only the essential exposition and then sends them away. More emotion, more energy, more abridged. Sure, the Noah Antweilers among you would still pick out the plot holes, but more people would have been distracted by the energy, the rhythm. Instead, it's done so casual. Few snippets of action, but mostly standing around, explaining things. In 06 defense, it still has more going on than the cutscenes in modern games. Those only have Eggman spazzing out like a psychopath to distract us from the dull, naked plot. Or a complete opposite example, Sonic and Elise. They share very little scenes together, so the few they have are extra over the top, which is why most people consider them a romantic couple, while it might have been meant as a platonic different kind of relationship.
Okay, if we're supposed to think Sonic and Elise have a platonic relationship, like Elise is interested in Sonic because he breaks her out of her boring life, we should have seen this struggle. See a bit of her daily life being bored in the castle dreaming of adventure. Kind of like with Amy in Sonic Adventure. Instead, we only see Elise in her daily life thrice. First, while dodging explosions during a festival. Second, while surrendering herself to a world-conquering madman holding her city hostage. And third, when causing a giant explosion in the castle, murdering her father and releasing a demon. Needless to say, I hardly get the impression her life is dull.
Exactly. Sonic and Elise bond together should have been done Sonic Adventure style. Sonic has a laid-back adventure where he does solve some kind of mystery or looks for the Gale's Emeralds, and Elise should have just joined him for most of the storyline. No, not like that. I mean like Tails was in Sonic Adventure. Then they can bond, learn things, and we can take them a bit more serious. But instead they wanted a Sonic Adventure 2 kind of storytelling where there's constantly danger and plot twists, and Sonic is constantly on the run, chasing after things. And so Elise constantly gets kidnapped. And we watch this incredibly awkward story constantly hop between bonding and dangerous kidnap mission. It would have felt much less forced if the stories were more laid back.
Silver's story is very laid back actually. Despite having the highest stakes at risk, there's no time limit or direct danger involved. Mephiles isn't going, Hurry, Silver. Sonic will trigger the Iblis in only 2 days. Silver's story is much less about dashing through dangers and solving mysteries and much more about coming to terms with his duty, a spirit quest if you will.
True. In fact, it actually amuses me. From the 3 heroes, the one who has the lowest risks at stake. Just the life of one princess is constantly in danger and has the most tension, while the one saving the entire human race is the most laid back, with Shadow being in between. I guess there's another reason why people like Silver and Shadow's story much more, besides the fact that it has more relevance to the story at large. Them solving mysteries and doing short and relevant missions fits much more naturally in the gameplay with the hubs and side missions than Sonic does. The game forcing you to play through every level, often without purpose, is also less grating for Shadow and Silver for this reason. They're trying to figure things out, so having false leads is to be expected, but Sonic constantly failing is much more straightforward and urgent missions is much more irritating.
Usually I hate it when time is wasted, but in Silver's story there's an exception. The desert level is a waste of time again, but then we have Silver enjoying how the desert looks like and feeling happy about Amy being cheerful. What started as filler now suddenly builds on Silver's character. Instead of just making him focused on his mission, they take the time for him to enjoy the present and discover what he's fighting for. That makes his later inner turmoil more natural.
Yeah, I wish they didn't stick so tight on sending every character to every level, but I suppose it's nice they at least use the filler cutscenes to make the dramatic scenes flow more natural. I know some Sonic games that definitely could have used some of that. It reminds me, a lot of people complain that a lot of levels of Sonic Adventure 2 miss purpose, especially Tails never seems to achieve anything in his levels. But Adventure 2 gets away with it because the levels at least illustrate the events going on. Sonic and friends are storming the base, so here's a level storming the base. Sonic and Co are being hunted by the military, so here's Tails being hunted by the military. Even if he doesn't achieve something, it still illustrates what's going on. It creates levels around situations that already happen in the story, in contrast with Adventure 1 and 06 that creates story around levels that are just there. Or worse, Lost World, where levels take place on a different planet, from a different dimension, in a whole different video game than the cutscenes. Smoke and mirrors. Writing isn't about creating a perfect, flawless story. It's about entertaining us with a good story and hiding the imperfections with smoke and mirrors. After all, I'm sure we prefer dumb action scenes and lots of levels over everyone just standing around being flawlessly logical. What else should we talk about? Characters? I think we talked about characters before. The main cast is all off. Sonic's a loft-struck zombie. Trying to turn Eggman into a whole different character who's more James Bond villainish, but they don't really do anything with it. Knuckles and Tails are there.
As much as the main cast of Sonic and Eggman are horribly written, the minor characters are actually in top form. Take Amy for example. Yes, she's obsessed with Sonic and making her usual dumb mistakes like mistaking Silver for Sonic again, but she's surprisingly self-aware and mature this time around, actually apologizing for her behavior and acknowledging she inconvenienced Silver by wasting his time with another Sonic hunt. I can understand if people are still irritated by her bubble behavior, but hey, that's who she is, and unlike other games, she's a lot more mature and self-aware about it this time around.
That's neat, yeah. One character that confused me is Solaris, though. Okay, so you have Iblis, the dumb monster that just destroys things, and you have Mephiles, the very intelligent manipulator, tricking people and playing mind games. And when the two of them combine, they become Solaris, a bigger dumb monster that destroys things. Wait, so where did Mephiles' intelligence go? Shouldn't Solaris be more intelligent? Like Smog from the Hobbit, I guess? This is a problem with the whole evil monster god of destruction thing. Villains like that are really boring because they can't do much besides destroy. You want a villain that's kind of smart and interacts with people, but just a guy as a villain doesn't work as final boss, so you want a giant monster, but also a source of intelligence. The Sonic games fix this in two ways. Either give the monster some simple intelligence, like Chaos or Metal Sonic, and then they go crazy in anger and want revenge or something. The other solution is splitting the monster from the intelligence, like BioLizard and Gerald Robotnik. Gerald is the brain, but obviously not much of a threat in the fight, especially since he's dead. So we got BioLizard as his physical presence. That works, I guess. So now we have Mephiles, and by himself he's one of the more interesting villains of Sonic, being smart, interacting, manipulating our heroes, yet also being a physical threat. So he's fascinating. But the problem with this guy is, where do you go with him? Why would an intelligent guy with power over time who's beyond civilization even want? And more importantly, what would he want that would lead him to be the final boss of destruction? So they just turn him into a dumb monster. Ugh, I will destroy everything. It's such a letdown, but I gotta admit it's hard to come up with a motivation for a villain like this. This is why I think giant monster bosses have to remain dumb. Intelligence is needed for interaction. A smart villain needs to be among other people, a social environment to interact with. If you got a monster beyond time and space, who can he interact with? Who does he need to manipulate? Why would he need power or money? There's nothing. Again, kinda same with Smaug in The Hobbit. Tolkien is all, ooh, look how smart and intelligent he is, and playing mind tricks and riddles, ooh, it's so interesting. Okay, so what's his plan? Manipulate humans? Why? Interact with other dragons? There aren't any. Oh. And he's a dumb, stupid monster again. Blah, I'll destroy things and get money for some reason. Blah. And then he gets killed by some guy. Yay, classical literature. Smart monsters are a waste. Really, the only thing you can do is play up the "this world sucks, so I will destroy it so I can rebuild the earth from scratch" thing that Final Fantasy loves. That's pretty much the only logical direction we can take smart final boss monsters. And who knows, maybe that was what Solara's final plan was. It's not like Sonic 06 hides the fact it desperately wants to be like Final Fantasy. But I don't remember it ever playing up that angle. But another character I do really like in this game is Shadow. Man, that guy is improved. Now, I was also never really a big fan of him being reset in Sonic Heroes. He was over his identity crisis in Sonic Adventure 2, and while there were still some holes of his past to fill in, the way it's written and how Shadow deals with it never felt natural to me. Nevertheless, in his own game he finally resolves his identity crisis for once and for all, and it really shows here. Mephiles tries to manipulate him again, pushing his buttons with the whole "GUN might betray you" thing. It would have been so easy to completely reset Shadow again and make him go through his usual shtick again, but nope, he remains firm. Betray me? I'll deal with it if that happens, but right now, you're the villain. These are my buddies and I'm gonna kick your ass. Heck yeah! After all that turmoil and identity crisis stuff from the previous games, just seeing him stand firm and finally found his place in life with full conviction is immensely satisfying. It's the reason why giant anime shows, comic book sagas and modern TV shows are so popular, while movie sequels are so universally hated. Anime and comics build characters up, starting from generic 2D characters, but let them grow beyond and beyond their original character arc, rather than constantly resetting everything back to scratch, in that nervous obsession that the story needs to have the exact same beats all the time. So yeah, question remains, if Shadow returns in a future game, if they continue from 06, or reset him again, especially now we know how much research the current writers do. Oh, and no, we haven't heard from Mr. Pontek yet about the video we made, for those who are curious. At least I can say from the little we saw of him in Generations, he seemed to be the same a bit mature Shadow. Kinda. Yeah, whatever. Let's wrap this up.
Alright, so that was more Sonic 06. Let us know if you want us to talk more about Sonic 06, and then I'll gladly let you know I hate you. I wonder if there's even more to talk about in this game.
Oh, definitely. Glad you mentioned it, actually. I had this theory on how Sonic 06 was written and where most of the plot holes come from. You see...
Shut it! Well, hope we can move on to other things next time. See you later, kids. Toodle pip.